Hey everybody, we are back with another Encyclopedia Brown mystery. This is written by Donald J. Sobol. This one is called The Case of the Three Vans. Chief Brown hung up the kitchen telephone. "I've got to leave," he said. "It seems we have another case with a message in code. This time it's a kidnapping." "Why don't you take Leroy along?" Mrs. Brown suggested. "He's so good at codes." Encyclopedia stopped scraping the dinner plates. He held his breath until his father smiled. "Let's go, Leroy," Chief Brown said. Encyclopedia let out a whoop. Being with his father on a real police case was the thrill of thrills. He whipped through the last two dishes and was seated in the patrol car before his father even got behind the wheel. As they drove, Chief Brown told Encyclopedia what little he knew about the case. "A man named Harry Dunn was kidnapped this morning," he said. "About an hour ago, the kidnappers telephoned his sister, Mrs. Allen. They demanded $500,000 in ransom." "What about the coded message, Dad?" "We'll know more when we see it." As they pulled up to Harry Dunn's big house, Officer Kent greeted them at the curb. He said, "Harry Dunn's sister, Mrs. Allen, is in the living room. Also a neighbor, Mr. Tradd. He may have seen Harry Dunn being kidnapped." Mrs. Allen was a pale, middle-aged woman. Her eyes were red from crying. Chief Brown questioned her first. "I received a telephone call late this afternoon from a man with a deep voice," she said, sobbing. "He said my brother had been kidnapped and the ransom was $500,000. I'd be told where to leave the money later." "You called the police right away?" asked Chief Brown. "No, first I called Harry," Mrs. Allen said. "There was no answer, so I drove here and let myself in. I have a key. The house was empty. That's when I called the police." Chief Brown turned to the neighbor, Mr. Tradd. "What can you tell us, sir?" "About 10 o'clock this morning, I borrowed some garden tools from Harry," Mr. Tradd said. "He didn't answer the doorbell when I returned the tools at noon. The garage door was open, so I left the tools on his workbench." "Which house is yours?" Chief Brown inquired. "The one right across the street," Mr. Tradd replied. "I was planting in the front yard, so I saw everyone who came to Harry's front door." "The back door was locked from the inside," Mrs. Allen put in. "Whoever kidnapped Harry used the front door." "Did you see anyone at the front door?" Chief Brown asked Mr. Tradd. "While I was planting, 3 delivery vans drove up, about 15 or 20 minutes apart, but each of them blocked my view of the front door," Mr. Tradd said. "So Mr. Dunn could have been taken out the door and placed in one of the vans," Chief Brown said, "without your seeing him?" "That's possible," Mr. Tradd agreed. Chief Brown took out his pocket notebook. "Can you describe the 3 vans?" Each van had its company name painted on the side: Bill's Fish Market, ABC TV Repair, and Sun Drug Store. "Was that the order in which they parked at Mr. Dunn's front door?" Chief Brown asked. "I just don't remember," Mr. Tradd answered. "I really didn't think the vans were important. I didn't know about the kidnapping." Officer Kent said, "I checked the companies. All the deliveries were scheduled." He handed Chief Brown a small sheet of paper. "This is the note I found on a pad by the telephone in the family room," he said. Chief Brown studied the note. He gave up and passed it to Encyclopedia. "What do you make of it, Leroy?" The boy detective read, "Steady outbursts defending hiccoughing crab cake." Chief Brown showed the note to Mrs. Allen. "Is this your brother's handwriting?" Mrs. Allen put on her eyeglasses. "Yes, it looks like his." "Did your brother like to write coded messages?" Chief Brown said. "As a boy he did," Mrs. Allen answered. "He still enjoys word puzzles." She tried her eyes. "I kept telling him not to live in this big house all alone." Encyclopedia was thinking hard. He closed his eyes, he opened them, and asked his one question. "Is crab cake Mr. Dunn's nickname?" "I never heard him called that," Mrs. Allen replied. She blew her nose. "It's the newspaper's fault," she said bitterly. "It printed out our pictures when Harry and I each inherited $1 million last month. That gave somebody ideas." She began to weep again. Chief Brown took Encyclopedia aside. Maybe the vans in the crazy note have nothing to do with the kidnapping, Leroy, he remarked. No, Dad, said Encyclopedia. The word crab cake tells which van took Mr. Dunn away. The top 4 words give the key to the code. Which van? Turn to page 79 for the solution. All right, let's find out. Solution to the case of the 3 vans. After his rescue by the police, Mr. Dunn told what had happened. The man who brought his TV set from the repair shop had been bent to plug it in. As he did, Mr. Dunn saw his back pocket. It held a gun. Alarmed, Mr. Dunn left a note in code in case there was trouble. The delivery man, who turned out to be the kidnapper, read the note and asked what it meant. Mr. Dunn told him it was just a reminder to himself to have his sister, a nurse, read up on his hiccoughing. He said crab cake was her pet name for him. Encyclopedia saw that the top 4 words gave the code away. Each word had 3 letters in alphabetical order. The key word, crab cake, was underlined. Letters were A, B, C. Thus, ABC TV repair. Wow, okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that mystery. Please join us next time. Have a wonderful day.